Tammy says her boyfriend John's 10-year-old daughter approached her 3 years ago with allegations that he had sexually abused her. Whoa! And after the young girl explained in graphic detail what John did to her, Tammy left him. But she never gave up on his daughter. Tammy says she took the little girl to get help, and even more allegations were revealed. And according to John, the state immediately took custody of his daughter, and he had no choice but to sign over his rights. But Tammy called my show when she found paperwork stating otherwise. She believes that John did not cooperate with authorities and fled the state to avoid an investigation. If you fail, will you agree to be escorted by one of my security guards and turn yourself in?
That's fine.
Okay.
She said, yes, actually, my daddy did touch me because we play the sex game. Dad called the sex game. He said to her, if you tell anybody, then I'll kill you.
That piece of worthless crap does not get to speak for my niece.
You are now raising the little girl.
Yes. This woman that says she's an advocate for my niece called my mom and I for 3 weeks straight and said, I think he's molesting her. I think he's molesting her.
Did you ever molest your daughter?
No, I did not.
Did you ever threaten to kill her?
No.
So you did nothing wrong.
I did nothing wrong.
They gave you every chance to get your daughter back, and you didn't take any of them. That's not the actions of an innocent man. Come on, John, fight for your daughter. Here's your chance. Fight for your daughter.
I'm sure not afraid of you, and I'm sure not afraid of her. I didn't do it.
Why are you charging her?
I didn't do nothing. It's my daughter.
3 years ago, John's daughter came to me and had alleged that her father had sexually abused her. And her mother passed away when she was about 5 or 6. And she was like really reclusive, really, shy. And it took me and my daughter quite some time to finally gain her trust. And when we did, it's just like she blossomed into this child that was like night and day. And she started calling me mom, and my daughter her sister, and so we were very close. And I need closure. This man still wants to get married and everything else, and I'm just like, how can I marry somebody if I don't know the truth?
So you're still with John?
We've sort of been off and on because I'm on the fence. I mean, in one way it may look bad, but in another way I don't want to accuse him, like outright and go, oh yeah, I'm done with you because of this reason. But at the same time, I'm here for the child.
How did you meet John?
Through a chat line.
On a chat line?
Yes.
Before John was accused of molesting his then 10-year-old daughter, did he have any other allegations against him?
Initially not, to my knowledge, no. But that's stuff that I found out later on.
What did you find out?
Through paperwork. I went and did my own investigating and going through his personal belongings because I felt he was lying to me and wouldn't tell me the truth. And I found out that there was several of his exes that had accused him of molesting his daughter, and they had stalking orders and everything else against him and restraining orders.
So it's not just this one young girl, his daughter. These are allegations from other people too.
It's hard to make details of it because it was not, like sporadic paperwork. I would assume it was either his daughter or possibly other children. I'm not sure.
And how did you find out about the accusation that John was molesting his daughter?
After him and I, met and we were together, she started acting out, touching herself, and, I was just like, this is like a red flag for me. I'm like, oh my God, And so I asked her, I said, honey, has anybody ever touched you? And she said no. She was very adamant about that. And so the behavior continued. I addressed John about the situation, and he said that there was a gentleman that his ex was involved with that sort of resembled him, and that basically had a goatee, had this and that. And it's like, okay, did you do anything about that? And he said, well, I did address it, but the people were in cahoots or whatever with my ex. And so I was just like, well, that still is a red flag.
So you did notice signs of sexual abuse in the girl before anything was brought to your attention?
Correct.
Okay. Did the girl open up to you?
She finally did, Steve. She, after that, she continued with behavior outbursts, just angry.
But what did she say that happened to her?
when I questioned her again, she said, yes, actually, my daddy did touch me. She said that her dad, in graphic detail, she said that how it would start is we play the sex game, Dad called the sex game, and he would put in a pornographic movie, people weren't around, and would basically touch her privates while this pornographic stuff's going on, and it was called the sex game, and he would reward her with candy and take her to the store and get her candy.
Did he threaten her in any way?
He said to her, if you tell anybody, then I'll kill you. And that is what she said.
When you heard this story, did you confront John?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say about it? I mean, it's pretty graphic that a 10-year-old would make up a story like that, right? Like,
yeah.
That'd be pretty hard to make up.
Exactly.
So when you confront John with what his daughter said, how did he respond?
He was actually really angry. He was like, well, you know, I wouldn't do anything like that to my child. And I said, well, no, that I don't know that. And so he said, well, bring her out, because she was in her room. And he said, well, bring her out. And so I brought her out, you know. And I said, so you said that your dad did these things to you. And I said, is this true? And she says, yes, it is. And he said, no, it isn't. You're lying. He got really angry at her and screaming at her. And she was like, yes, you did, Daddy. And she was crying. She was just, I don't know.
Even with her father screaming at her, she said, yes, you did this.
Yes, she was so adamant about it. I mean, looking at this guy, it's
and
like...
what did you do after this scene?
After that happened, I made him give me a temporary order thing to give me like a guardianship or something so I could actually legally do stuff. And my daughter and myself, because she was really close to my daughter too, we took her to this place for behavioral purposes and stuff, and that's what I told John I was doing. And basically, after she got there, a bunch of other things came out, and that's when the state stepped in and basically said she was a child in need of aid, and they took her from him. And me too.
How long after she had been there did they make that declaration?
Oh, wow. It was like almost instantaneously. They pretty
instantaneously?
Much... Yeah, they did. They were like, she...
Must have been some pretty bad stuff coming out if they did that instantaneously.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
Basically, they got an attorney for him, and he was supposed to be working with them to try to figure out what was going on. And they did tell him that if he was found guilty, he could be facing 99 years to life for everything that he had done to her. And basically, he had like a I don't know how you say it, like a thing where he had to go to do certain things, like talk to people or do a sex offenders, whatever type thing.
They gave him a list of requirements to do.
Right.
Did he cooperate?
No. And
why didn't he cooperate?
He said he did. He told me that he did. And once again, documentation I had to find out on my own and I found out that the attorney and everybody that was involved for him on his behalf was saying that he was completely uncooperative.
So she's in this behavioral place, and what are you and John doing?
I got a restraining order against him.
Okay.
And I made him leave.
And then what happened?
After that, he basically wouldn't cooperate, I guess, with the people, and he ended up leaving state. And
where did he go?
He came back to Oregon.
He came back. Oh, is John still with you?
Him and I had seen each other, yes. And the reason, Steve...
Are you living together?
Right now?
No, when you go back to Oregon, were you living together?
We were around each other. I wouldn't say we were living together.
What does that mean?
That means I'm trying to keep him close because I want to get to the bottom of this.
Okay.
Enemies.
Were you still sleeping with them?
Yes, Yes, I was.
Okay. Knowing that you're both in Oregon, you knew he can't cooperate if he's not in Alaska, where you fled. Okay. What does John say about his daughter now?
What does he say about her?
Yeah, I mean, he's never gotten her back, right?
No.
She was 10 years old. You drop her off at a behavioral science place. Have you ever seen her since you dropped her off?
No.
You've never seen her either?
No, because
You've never seen her The dad's never seen her. You're going to tell me, like, someday, like today, I go home, drop my daughter at some place, and the next 3 years, I never see her again? Why? Like, oh my God, he says he didn't do it. How come he's not fighting and doing everything he can to get his daughter back?
Exactly. Exactly.
See, the problem I have with this story is, what father who loses the mother of his child just abandons his child and does nothing to get her back? Though that's not the actions of an innocent man.
No.
Who wanted to do the show today?
He had called recently in January to do the show. I had called a year ago to do the show, and he had said that we were going to come here and do this, and I wanted answers then, and he lied and said he had a brain tumor and couldn't come on the show, so they said we can't do it. They were going to buy tickets and everything.
And then it turns out he didn't have a brain tumor.
Correct.
Yeah. This story has made my staff, who deals with this all the time, this story has made everybody sick. You know, I know you're saying you're being an advocate for a child. I personally don't see it. I see, and listen, I see a woman that a lot of women, they're being selfish and they stay with the guy instead of doing the right thing for their own physical and emotional needs. I always say these with these child molestations. I hope he passes because, God forbid, this happened to a child. I get this very nauseating feeling in my stomach right now that probably did do it, fled the state, because that's what most of these guys, most child molesters, that's how they slip through the cracks. People that want to raise their children and be involved that didn't do anything, they don't flee. I'm going to ask you to leave the stage and we'll bring you back out for John's results.
Okay.
Is somebody beating up my stage? The woman who has helped raise John's daughter for the last 3 years asked to be here today to speak on behalf of her niece, who she says has been greatly impacted for the rest of her life because of what her father did to her growing up. Here is Aunt Tammy.
That piece of worthless crap does not get to speak for my niece. Or that little psycho child molester that's back there.
The one that's so upset that he's beating up my stage. You are now raising the little girl.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell me about this story?
John was married to my youngest sister. I never liked him from the very beginning, never trusted him. Shortly before they got married, one of his ex-girlfriends had come to me and said that I needed to warn my sister to be careful with her children because her children had made allegations that he had touched them. I thought at first it's just a disgruntled ex. Then I started hanging around with John, and the more and more I did, the less and less I trusted him. They had a very volatile relationship. They split up. My sister had to call me several times to go and get her and the kids. My sister was diagnosed with leukemia. She fought it for a year. During that time, they were doing custody exchanges. He had visitation with his daughter every other weekend. When my sister got really ill, she had to go to another city to get better treatment. At that point in time, I was doing the custody exchanges for her because she was sick. We would exchange at the sheriff's department. There were several times, one in particular, we had to call the police out to come out and take him out of the truck to get his daughter out of the truck, which was extremely traumatic.
Don't let him break your concentration.
My sister, when she had to go to another city to get treatment, had gotten a custody change to where he would only get her certain weeks out of the summer because it wasn't feasible for her to bring her every other weekend. He refused to take it. So he went almost 2 years without seeing his daughter. When my sister passed away in 2007 on Easter Sunday, the next morning, John showed up at my mother's house with the police to get his daughter. I had to rush to my mom's, and I had to go into the house, and I had to pull my 6-year-old niece out of the closet because she was screaming. She didn't want to go with him. I had to walk her out of the house and physically hand her over to the cops. We didn't see her for a year. He wouldn't let us see her. This woman that says she's an advocate for my niece called my mom and I for 3 weeks straight and said, I think he's molesting her. I think he's molesting her. And we kept saying, please take her in. Please take her in. About 3.5 weeks later, I get a phone call from a detective from where they were living that my niece is locked up in a behavioral institute because Tammy took her there and dropped her off and walked away. My mom and I fought every single day to get her back.
Is there any chance at all that John is innocent of molesting his daughter?
My niece has looked at me in the eyes and said that's what happened, and I'm going to be behind her 100% the rest of her life.
You've never able to confront John, right?
No, actually, the one time I did see him in our town, somebody held me back. They wouldn't let me.
Which is probably a good thing because hopefully somewhere down the line, John will meet the police and, you know, can give his side of the story. Let's bring out John. Why are you charging her?
Because,
Why are you charging her? She's a woman. Talk.
I didn't do nothing to my daughter.
No.
My daughter was in a better place with me than she ever had.
Right.
She was beating my daughter.
Oh.
Don't charge her.
Your daughter was never beaten. The only person that's ever abused your child
Just
was
talk,
you.
just talk.
No. You know what? She was beaten by freaking was with your sister.
You don't even
molested.
mention my sister's name. Not what the hell you put her through.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions, John. You're with, this is Aunt Tammy, but you're with the woman that was on stage first, Tammy, and Tammy believed that you were molesting your daughter. And she called Aunt Tammy and her mom and said, hey, I believe that John is molesting a little girl. They said, hey, you better do something, better turn her in, and, you know, she did. You both, she drops her off at this behavioral science place or whatever it is, and now you've never seen her again, right?
Because I didn't know where she was at.
Okay, but
No one ever told me where she was at.
You couldn't. Hold on. You didn't ask Tammy, hey, show me where you dropped my daughter off?
Yeah, I asked Tammy where she dropped my daughter off. I called there, and they would not let me talk to her.
So you didn't show up there and say, I demand to speak to my daughter?
I couldn't go there because the state of Alaska said that I couldn't.
What? So what? Before this is all, one day she's living with you, the next day she's not. So the next day you didn't go down there and say, I want to talk to my daughter?
I couldn't because the state of Alaska said they had me arrested.
The next day they called you up, they sent you a letter. What did they do, John?
They called me up and said
And
that
they said, you better not show up where your daughter's at.
Yeah.
And you said what? Okay.
And I said, okay, because they'll have me arrested.
You're afraid of being arrested?
What am I supposed to do?
Are you afraid of being arrested?
No, I'm not afraid of being arrested.
Well, then why wouldn't you show up for your daughter?
Why wouldn't I show up for my daughter? Because they told me not to show up on the premises.
Your daughter of 10 years.
They told me not to try to contact.
Did you ever molest your daughter?
No, I did not.
So you did nothing wrong?
I did nothing wrong.
And so you haven't seen your daughter in 3 years and you've done nothing wrong?
Because I don't know where she's at.
You don't know where she's at?
No, they wouldn't tell me where she's at.
Do you know where she lives?
Do I know where she lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, now.
She's raising your daughter.
Well, now I know it.
And now what are you going to do about it?
Now I'm going to try to see my daughter.
Why?
No, not
Why
ever.
are you here today?
Because I'm trying to prove my innocence.
Yeah. So you took a lie detector test.
Yes, I did.
Okay. After this happened, after these accusations came out, you left the state that you were in, right?
Because I had nowhere to live.
But you left.
Yeah.
And
I was in the snowing in Alaska.
Okay. Snow here in Connecticut, you know.
Try living out of a tent.
This is from the state that you fled, by the way. John's case plan included staying in regular contact with the department, providing updated changes in contact. They were telling you this is what you need to do, but you didn't do anything. Repeated attempts to contact John went unheeded, and until ultimately a court order was entered authorizing the child to receive medical treatment she needed. Your refusal to participate
Yeah, the
his daughter was moved to a foster home. On November 2nd, 2011, court ordered John to appear in court, and you fled the state, abandoning his daughter and failed to appear. The caseworkers continued to reach out to you, John, in which most of the time you wouldn't even answer your phone or cooperate or give any kind of information.
I didn't get phone calls. I had very critical reception.
You refused to participate in court proceedings, provide an address, assist with your daughter's benefits, either in person or on the telephone. The aunt called in and said she saw you in the state that she lives in. So, you know, they did everything they could.
She saw me in the
They
state.
gave you every chance to get your daughter back, and you didn't take any of them. Did you ever call your daughter?
Yeah, I have called my daughter.
Why? Okay, hold on. Why would you use such a foul word towards your own flesh and blood?
Because I was angry.
What were you angry about?
Because of what she said when I went through 3 years of the nightmares of the stupid idiot that went ahead.
The 3 years that you went through.
My daughter.
Okay. Well, by the way, who she says was you.
No, it was not me. She's got me mixed up with another person that her sister was with.
Sure. She got her own father mixed up with somebody else.
Yeah, because he...
But then the father who didn't fight
That's usually what he does.
Are you going to backstage, John? Come on, John, fight for your daughter. Here's your chance. Fight for your daughter.
I'm sure not afraid of you, and I'm sure not afraid of her, and I'm sure not afraid of the audience.
Okay, hold on. What are you doing to find your daughter? What have you done to find your daughter?
What have I done to find my daughter?
What have you done to find your daughter?
I asked them where she was at, and they would not tell me.
You asked
the
who?
state of Alaska.
Okay. Yeah, and where were you asking from, John?
I asked the
Where were you asking from?
I asked my
Where
attorney.
were you asking from?
I asked freaking DHS.
Where were you asking from?
I asked the freaking...
Where were you asking from?
When I was here.
If you were really trying to find your daughter in Alaska, wouldn't it be good if you were in Alaska?
It was crazy. I had a tent.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It was cold in Alaska. I couldn't go to Alaska because it was cold. I haven't seen my daughter in 3 years, but it's cold in Alaska. If it was warm, I'd go find my daughter.
When it's 32 below and it's snowing and there's freaking lots of snow.
And how do you know you're... Oh, great. That's a good point. It's 32 below and there's lots of snow. Do you know if your daughter's being cared for, treated right? Do you know if somebody's taking good care of your daughter? Do you know
I
that?
didn't know.
No, you don't know.
They wouldn't
you
tell me.
You don't know.
They wouldn't
That's right.
tell me.
She could be still being abused. She could be frozen. She could be sick. But you don't know because you won't find her.
They wouldn't tell me.
What has she gone through the last 3 years, John? You say, oh, it's so horrible for you. How bad is it for her? How bad is it for her?
I contacted them to give them permission to give her medication, everything like that. And you know what? They say that I didn't cooperate. That is a bunch of...
You didn't.
Yes, I did cooperate.
Have you ever done anything to prove you're innocent of these charges?
Yeah, I have.
What have you done? What have you done?
I've tried to.
What have you done?
What have I done?
Yes, I'll say it again. What have you done?
I've offered to take lie detector tests.
To who? To who?
To the state of Alaska.
And they said no?
Yeah.
You went to somebody in the state of Alaska and you said, I will take a lie detector test.
Yes, I did.
And this person said, no.
Yeah.
But they didn't know where, and did you say, do you know where my daughter's at? And they said, what, we're not going to tell you?
They told me that she was in a facility, and that's all they said. And then when I called the facility wouldn't give me any information.
And they said, no, we don't want to look into you, John. We don't want to bring you in for an investigation. We don't want you to speak to the detective.
No one questioned me. No one ever did anything.
Because you were in Oregon, that's why.
No, because I was in Alaska when it was going on.
You fled right after that.
No, I didn't flee right after.
Even Tammy 1 says that back there.
Well, that's wrong.
Is
because
Tammy
you know
lying?
what? Yeah, she's lying.
Do you love Tammy?
Yeah, I do. We've had 2 twins together, and she's miscarried both of them.
Why?
Maybe stress?
Stress in her own life with her children.
And you cause no stress in anybody's life, do you?
I don't cause that much stress. She has stress of her own.
Because you were fighting for your daughter, right? You were calling, offering to give lie detector statements, you know, take a lie detector test. You were fighting for her, right?
Yeah.
But then you signed her over, right? You waived your rights as a parent?
Because that's the only freaking thing, because my attorney was laying down because I didn't have the money.
But why
I'm not a rich person.
But they didn't force you to sign your name, right? They didn't give you anything. You could have said, no, I'm not signing. I want to keep my daughter.
When they have her in custody and they would not let me.
What was the purpose of waiving your rights as a parent? Why did you sign over custody?
Because I was not in the state of Alaska to jump through their hoops.
So
and I wasn't gonna.
But what did you get for signing her over?
Nothing.
Nothing. So why would you do it?
Because if she wants to live with her grandmother and her aunt, then she can live with her grandmother and her aunt. She was so unhappy with me. I gave her everything that she ever wanted.
Did you ever buy your daughter candy after you molested her?
I didn't buy my daughter candy. I didn't molest her.
Did you ever take her to buy her candy?
Did I take her to buy candy when she earned money? Because she was doing chores and stuff like that. I didn't do that. Did you ever threaten to kill her? What?
Did you ever threaten to kill her?
No.
And she's making that, she's got that.
She's making that up.
She's confused, she's making it up.
She's making that up.
She told all kind of authorities, state officials, doctors, my father threatened to kill me.
And that's
10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
She liked being in state custody. She liked being around strangers constantly. And she made all this up for what purpose? Because she didn't want.
I don't know.
She wanted to be around strangers the rest of her life?
Because she didn't want to be with me.
Why?
I don't know.
You have no idea?
Because you're sick and she's afraid of you.
Were you a loving father? Were you a loving father?
Yes, I was a loving father.
Little girl loses her mother to leukemia, only has a father, and so she's going to make all this up because she wants to lose the last remaining parent she has?
Okay, whatever.
Let's bring out the love of your life, Tammy.
What the hell is your problem?
This needs to stop.
To gosh dang clear your name. Your daughter
Yeah, and you know what? This needs to stop because you know I never did it.
We're here. And we went all here. It wasn't for me.
I never did this stuff.
You know, I'm the one that brought us here. Excuse me.
She went ahead and got me mixed up with freaking.
Whatever. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I have not believed it.
Okay.
You know what?
If you don't believe it, then say it's over with.
I already told you it was over with. I told you it was over. I said, we're coming here. You know, keep your enemies close or your friends close, but your enemies closer. We would not be here if I would not have held on and looked like on national television for even staying around you. That's right.
Okay.
I'm here for this little girl. She
Okay.
may not believe it, but I am. I did not abandon her either. I took her down at the discretion of what they said.
You left a
They told me not to call, and I couldn't have no more contact. It tore me and my daughter.
Why? Because you were still with him.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. I got a restraining order that very next day. You don't know Why didn't you tell me about all was going on, the exes and stuff? Why didn't you tell me?
I talked to you on the phone.
Yeah, did you ever tell me? You didn't tell me.
Oh, is he crying?
You know,
He's crying. Now, you heard everything John said. He said there's no way he could have found his daughter. He tried everything. He offered to take lie detector tests. There's no way he could have tracked her down. He had no idea where she was at.
He's a liar.
He's a liar.
He's a liar.
Hold
He
on,
walked
hold on.
into the city where she was at and signed away his rights.
He had to sign over his rights because, well, I don't know why. He just had. He gave me no good reason why. And again, and I'm not trying to beat you up, Tammy, but this is the guy you love?
I have love for him, Steve. I want to get to the bottom of this, okay? I brought this story here, too. I tried a year ago to bring this story here when I first started talking to her.
I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I've scraped off things off the bottom of my shoe better than John.
And I agree. I do honestly in my heart believe he is lying. I just hope and pray to God he's not.
I mean, I got to make an offer.
And I hope he's
if he passes this lie detector test, I'm going to eat the whole envelope in the paper.
I don't think he's going to pass either. But you know what?
Is there any chance? Is there any chance? I mean, that story, first of all, it's not even a story. He doesn't even have a story. All he has is denials.
Exactly.
Denials. He doesn't even have a story.
That's why I've stayed, Steve, and I know people probably look at me bad, but that is the God's honest truth.
And
I've stayed.
you know what? And I'm trying to be, like, neutral here with you, but I can't be.
That's fine.
You failed the little girl miserably.
They think I'm so guilty that why they come get me?
Okay.
I'm right here.
Right.
You know what?
That's a good point.
And I'm in your face.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You're right. Why don't they come get you?
Why don't they come get me?
Why don't they come get you?
Why don't they come get me?
Okay, hold on, stop. I'll make you a deal. If you fail this lie detector test, okay? If you fail, will you agree to be escorted by one of my security guards and go back to the state of Alaska and turn yourself in?
Fine.
Would you're saying it? Look in the camera and say you'll do that.
Fine.
Right after the show, you go straight to Alaska.
That's fine.
Okay. That's why we do the show. Comes down to a simple question with you, John. Regarding your daughter, did you sexually molest her? You answered no, and the results for your lie detector test is you did not tell the truth. You're not surprised, are you, Tammy? You're not surprised. That's probably the result we've ever had on the show. Are you ready for your trip? And I'll even get your winter coat. Story like this, I normally kick the guy off the stage and throw a chair. But he's willing to cooperate. So now you're willing to go to Alaska, right? And turn yourself in?
Fun.
You're going to do that, right? What a way to end the show. Now, with one of my security guys, get the hell off my stage. I got. Hold on. Okay. All right. Tammy, you made some mistakes.
Yes, I did.
You made You want to make amends. Then when he goes back to Alaska, you cooperate. You get in touch. You cooperate with authorities. You tell them everything you know, and you make sure that sick son of a bitch goes to prison.
I'm calling him.
something to drink.
This little girl wanted everybody to come on the show. And this little girl wanted everybody to come on to the show because she wanted justice.
Yes.
And after
yes.
3 years, she finally might be able to get it.
Thank you.
And Tammy, you've done everything you can, and the girl's in a good place with you. I want to thank you and your mom for taking her in and
Yes,
loving her.
I did this for her.
Good for her. And I'm telling you, Tammy, you better never be with that
Oh,
six
hell
on the
no.
bitch
He
again.
can go to hell. Hell
And
no.
you cooperate, and you do whatever you can to make up for your mistakes to that little girl.
Yes.
You
I'm going
cooperate.
to. I'm
Go
going
back
to,
there
Steve.
now. Go back there.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Take care of that little girl.
I will.
Let's go. Let's go.